Ohio, and I am a pre-medical student at Yale University, double majoring in the neuroscience track of psychology and history of science and medicine.
So what motivated you or inspired you to go into your field?
So I grew up in a family of doctors, and so I would hear a lot of different stories about patients. My mom's a pediatric oncologist, so on Saturday mornings before my violin lessons, when I was like 5 or 6 years old, I would go and wait on the floor of the hospital while she was rounding on patients. So I had a lot of like person-to-person contact with patients, and that was just kind of how it all got started. I can't lie and say that Grey's Anatomy didn't inspire me to become pre-med, but no, but I think it's just a lot of different stories growing up.
So what were the first few steps you took to pursue your career?
I would volunteer in hospitals in high school, and as far as psychology and neuroscience, in high school I worked as a grief counselor for children ages 3 to like 17, and that was just a kind of different side of science and medicine that I wanted to pursue, and I would just work with them, and a lot of in-person contact was good for me. I also read a lot when I was growing up. I'm still growing up, so I still read, but yeah.
Tell us about your job. What are some of your responsibilities, and what is the environment like in your workplace?
So I worked in a neuroscience lab this summer under a postdoc. So my postdoc was a psychiatry resident, so he was an MD PhD. And what I did was perform a lot of different experiments trying to figure out a therapy for post-traumatic stress disorder. So I read a lot of literature on novel therapies for this kind of disorder, also on depression and that kind of thing. And so I learned a lot about the amygdala, which is a part of the brain that controls fear and that kind of thing. So outside of the lab, I would read a lot about that and just try to get oriented in the field so that I didn't feel so unprepared when I went into lab every morning and did different experiments according to a protocol.
So what has been the most rewarding part about your career?
So I guess just being in the STEM careers is just the people you meet along the way, I guess, is very rewarding, and also the knowledge that you gain from different aspects of it. So I can speak a little bit to just my experience as a grief counselor, for example. It was super hard because I was working with 3-year-olds who had lost someone in their family and were coming into this nonprofit to get grief counseling every 2 weeks. And because we would only see them every 2 weeks, and because they were only 3 years old, it was really difficult because we couldn't get this, like, you know, they couldn't talk about their emotions, and so we would have to do a lot of listening. And there was one little boy who came in and would not talk at all when we would share at the beginning of the 2 hours. And at like the end of 5 or 6 sessions, he was the craziest little boy in the room. He would be under the couch, and we would have to like run around to try to get him. And he would talk, and he would talk about his stepfather who had passed away, and he was just really he had really opened up with the group. So I guess those kind of experiences make it really meaningful, but those are kind of, you know, the most extreme cases. But it's also just like the people you meet in your STEM classes. I mean, some of my best friends are my best friends because we've taken a lot of classes together, and we've kind of like worked through this field together. And
Do you maintain positivity and motivation despite obstacles or barriers?
Yeah, I think that being a pre-med student is something that's very competitive in a different way than other majors might be competitive, or other tracks of study might be competitive, just because I guess a lot of it is a lot of comparison, with comparing yourself with other people, especially when you get to college, because you're just surrounded by people that have the same interests as you and have the same goals as you. So I think overcoming that is just kind of keeping, I don't want to say tunnel vision, but tunnel vision in terms of your goals and like your dreams, and not letting other people affect those too much, but only try to have other people affect them in positive ways. And a lot of that is just talking with your parents, talking with your friends that are going with the same things. I talk to my mom every day in college, and that's definitely what's helped me a lot, is just talking through things, because when you're facing things like a lack of confidence in different classes, the only way that I personally can get through that is talking through it and making sure I'm being rational and keeping an open mind about it.
What motto or core values do you live by?
Oh man. That's a difficult one. I guess just that, you shouldn't let anyone, no matter if it's a person of authority, if it's your friends or anyone, you shouldn't let them tell you that your dreams are too lofty or too big, or that they don't make sense, or take them for themselves. So even just like with people in authority, they have that ability, or to do that just because they're older than you, or that kind of thing. And I think it's really good to listen to different people and to respect their opinions and everything, but make sure that you're still motivating yourself to do what you want to do and to get where you want to be.
What are some words of advice you believe will help girls today overcome these obstacles?
Yeah, I think that young women, in my experience, just have a forced lack of confidence because of society, and because even if you're just sitting in a discussion section after a lecture in college or wherever, you might not be able to be confident in your answers. And that's a simple example, but it goes to just speak to the workplace and dealing with very successful, very upfront and present dominating males in the workplace. And I think that it just is good for young women, is just to keep reminding yourselves that you're there for a reason, and you got there for a reason, wherever you might be, that you're experiencing challenges as a young woman, and you just have to remind yourself that hard work pays off, and that's how you got to where you were.
And why is it important to close the gender gap in STEM fields?
Yeah, it's incredibly important, because it doesn't matter what gender you are, your opinions matter, and there's so much to say about being a woman and what experiences you go through that are different than males, and that though that insight is really important. And so closing the gender gap isn't just about money, or isn't just about salaries, but it's really about what insights women have to different fields that men can't really compare with, and that that goes both ways. Men offer a lot to fields too, so we should just hope for equality in the STEM workplaces.
So what are your hobbies?
My hobbies, oh man, I love baking, and I love writing and reading, as much as I don't have time for it anymore. My favorite things to do are probably bake with my friends and watch movies with them and go shopping. I'm a huge shopper.
And if you could meet someone, living or dead, who would it be?
I think it would be Harper Lee, which is kind of cliche, but so she just very recently passed away. But I think the one thing that I admire the most about her is that her first novel, I guess now, it was so. It was just one masterpiece, and she was so out of the limelight, but was insanely successful as a woman writer. And so yeah, I think she's someone to really look up to, just because she was a powerful woman in her field, not necessarily STEM, but she also didn't necessarily want all of the credit. And I think that's a very admirable thing.
And so, last question.
Okay.
If you had a superpower, what would it be?
Flying's really cool, but I think as a pre-med student and having parents that are doctors, I've always been really, really annoyed when I couldn't express what was wrong with me and what hurt or how I was feeling. So I think to a very small degree, I would wanting to be able to feel actually like empathize with what other people are feeling, because I think like as much as that would be very painful, it would be like very cool because it's kind of been would be further in science and that kind of thing. But flying's really cool too. So.
Okay.